So we live, we back with Surviving Startup. This is the first live podcast.
First time having a special guest.
Special guest. We here with Monique. Let's jump right in, Care. Tell us about yourself, what you do.
So I'm Monique. I do multiple things, but my primary focus in the last few years has been my shoe business. I'm a shoe designer and a shoe store owner for a brand called Faye Nicole. I make women's footwear, in particular for women with larger feet. I go up to a size 13. And then on the other side of that, I have a coaching and consulting business for those in the fashion spaces, particularly handbags and footwear. So that's Monique LLC, and then I've also dabbled into a couple of other things that I'll chat about as we talk through my journey to kind of leaving a 9 to 5 and going full time. Monique LLC has kind of evolved into some other things as well within the last 6 months. So.
Right. Now, I will be honest, you said that kind of fast.
When you
I will be honest, you said that kind of fast.
just kind of go.
Like, okay, she do shoes, So let's start off with the shoes. What is that?
So I actually started my shoe brand in 2018, and it started as a company called True to Size Shoes, and it was still the same thing, but it was for women with larger feet. At that time, I only carried sizes 9 through 13 because I was really gung-ho on just those of us with larger feet. I fall in that category. I'm a size 11, and to be honest, my business kind of stemmed from my own personal journey and my own personal struggle. I kind of consider myself a diva. I really like fashion. And I kind of fell into a bit of depression back in 2010. I was in college at the time, and I gained 90 pounds. I was the heaviest I had ever been, and I was like, yo, what is this? But not only was it like, what is this? It was like, I can't fit anything. So then it started to really impact my self-esteem and all of that. Walking into stores, I specifically remember at the time, I'm not going to name the store, they're gone now, they're no longer exist. But I remember walking into I can't say that because y'all these businesses is swooping back. Y'all know Toys R Us went bankrupt, but Babies R Us is coming back. So I was like, you got to be careful what you say because once it's on the internet, it's there forever. But I remember, and this is not the store itself, but this clerk, and she wasn't, I know now she wasn't being rude. It was where I was in life. But I walked in and I saw a pair of shoes that I wanted and I really liked them. And I was like, do you have this in a size 11? And she kind of gave me this look. And she was like, we don't carry size 11. And I was like, and that was just it. It wasn't like, I guess in my mind, customer service has more than that. It would have been like, we don't carry size 11, but this store does, or we can help you online or something. It was just like an abrupt stop. And for me, it was so shocking because I was like, that means there's no solution. Like, I have a problem that no one can solve. So I put that on the table for years. I didn't even do anything about it. I just started kind of wearing combat boots, sneakers, when I could find a heel here and there, or I had to order stuff. I could never try on a shoe in the store. Also, I have this thing, women with larger feet oftentimes we're taller. Why are our shoes on the bottom? I know chronologically I get it. But why do I gotta bend all the way to the ground? Just put it on display. But anyway, it don't make sense in my mind. But that's just me being spoiled, I guess. But anyway, so you fast forward a couple years, I actually started to do research and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. I just started sharing my story with other people. I started to get some of the weight off. The feet did not go back down. So actually, when my feet grew, when I gained the weight, I grew 2.5 sizes. When I went to college, I was a 9.5. I wore an 11 once that happened. And I didn't know that was actually common for women. Weight gain, pregnancy, I had never been pregnant. I didn't know women's feet get bigger and they don't go back. And
I knew they get bigger, but I didn't think, I thought they shrink.
But some women's feet don't go back, they go up another size. Injury. I met a lot of women who had some kind of injury from athletics or something like that. And so I just ended up finding all these women that were above a size 9, many of them 10s and 11s, and I was like, oh, so y'all had the same problem as me. So boom, a couple years later, I ended up, actually a lot of years later, 2018, one of my friends had encouraged me to go to this program called Spring GR, which Spring GR is a number of things, but the particular program I went through is a small business accelerator. I went through that in 2018, but I went for a different reason. At that time, I wanted to be a fashion stylist, so I wanted to revamp and style people's closets. So I went into Spring GR thinking I wanted to do that. And I I remember I sat down with my business coach, because Spring GR gave you a business coach at the time. I sat down with my business coach and I was talking about this coaching, I mean not coaching, that's what I do not, but I was talking about this fashion business, and he was like, where's your passion behind that? What's your reason behind that? And I was like, because I'm really fashionable. I was like, so I want everybody else to be fashionable. I don't know, like, I just knew, like, I wanted people, I was like, I feel like I'd be looking good, I be want people to be able to do that, and everybody can't do that. But anyway, I didn't really have any kind of, no reasoning behind it. I didn't even have I had the skill set in a sense, but not enough to when I talked to him about shoes. So when we started to, he just started to kind of pick my brain about a ton of things. He's like, so what do you love about fashion and all this? And every time I would talk to him about it, it would come back to footwear. It would come back to handbags. It was the accessorizing, because you can accessorize anything and make it look really good. So when we started to talk about that, he's like, so what's the biggest problem you've had in your fashion journey? And I was like, oh, I can never find shoes. I said, to this day, I can't find shoes. Like, I can walk in. It's so rare that I walk into a store and I actually walk out with a pair of shoes in a size 11 that were cute, that were like a first choice for me. And he said, well, there's your business. And I said, yeah, it could be. And, you know, I was a little stubborn. Yeah, I was a little stubborn. I was like, but I don't want to do shoes. Like, that's not enough. That's what I thought in my mind. I'm like, fashion is way more than footwear. But anyway, I toyed around with the idea, and I'm a learner by trade. All of my degrees are in education. I actually worked in higher ed and all of that. So my first thought was, well, let me research this. How much money is in the footwear industry? Because if I'm going to do it, I got to make money off of it. Also, how hard is it going to be to do this? Because if nobody's doing it, why aren't they doing it? I've met all these women that wear these large sizes, and they're having a hard time. There has to be a reason people aren't doing it. Well, one of the reasons is many folks are manufacturing outside of the country. Most other folks in other countries don't have these really large feet like we do. So the size gamut was, so the market in the manufacturing arena was not big enough for the manufacturers to invest in. So that's where I found the gap. So I said, well, I'm gonna fix that. So I invested a ton of money and a ton of energy into convincing these manufacturers to make these big old shoes. And after lots and lots of trial and error, in about, I would say maybe 2020-ish is when I got it right. 2018 and 2019 were kind of a hot mess for my business. I had to do a rebrand and all that. So remember I told you I started at True to Size Shoes. That was problem number one. My price point and who I was trying to reach, the name didn't match it, the color, the logo. I had a pink cursive logo with this big, so that True to Size was in this big block text.
How did you come to that realization though?
So my customers, so I was really, like, I was honing in on who my audience and who I was talking to, and I was like, why are they not talking back to me in the same language I'm talking to them? And what I mean by language was branding. So I'm sending out messages, hey sis, because that's how I talk. I wanted to build this community, and I realized the women who wanted what I was putting out, even though, so like my price point when I first started, my first pair of shoes was $130. It was a leather shoe, it was a pump, and it was really cute for the time. Now I wouldn't design that again, but you know, when you first you live and you learn, right? It was really cute for the time, but it was right size, it was great. And the price point though, $130 shoe is not a hey sis email.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Remember, I'm doing this on a whim. So when I started to realize, like, okay, I'm getting customers, they're shopping, but they're not engaging with the brand. Like, they're not posting about the brand. Like, it was almost like people were buying out of necessity. This is the only place I can get this. Because still to this day, there are only 6 of us in the U.S. who go above a size 12. 6 brands. I'm one of them being mine. And that's in this almost semi to luxury arena, right? So I am on the lower end of pricing. Yeah, so I found a very specific niche, which is also why I stretched my sizing. I went down to a size 7 because that's another gap that I found in the market. I was only doing 9 through 13. All of the extended size brands were only doing something and above. Nobody was still catching the whole gamut. So I said, well, just because I'm serving extended sizes doesn't mean I can't serve standard sizes as well. So that's where I started to separate myself. Because out of the 6 brands of us that go up above a size 12, only 3 of us also carry below a size 9. So really niche, so I really got really particular about how I want to niche down. I changed my branding, so my Faye Nicole brand is now very sleek and simple. It's black and white The text and print is all capitalized because there's confidence in that. There's boldness in being capital, but it's not bolded text. It's a simple, slim text because I realized that my target market, when I first started, I was like, oh, it's going to be women about 24 to 40. But then when I really did my target market research and I worked with the SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center, which is a free resource for those that don't know it.
Free resource in Grand Rapids.
In Grand Rapids.
Can
And
we say that
actually,
word?
they're
Is what?
The SBDC.
SBDC.
The SBDC Small Business Development Center, but they have them in other places.
Is that the library?
No, so this one, the one in Grand Rapids is actually down on GV's campus, the Pew campus downtown. And they'll pair you with someone who can help you do market research. They do other things as well, but that was the most beneficial thing for me was that
SBDC.
the SBDC. And there are lots of other tools that we could talk about, but the SBDC helped me really hone in on doing particular research around age, geography, where they were, what their hobbies were, what other places they shopped, what their family structures look like, because all of that matters when you're building a brand. Everything. Like I was like, why do I care if they have kids? And then they were talking to the SBDC was talking to me about, well, how much disposable income does someone with 3 kids have in comparison to someone with none? And I said, probably not as much. Not always, but in a sense, usually if I'm working the same job as someone else, I'm making $70K. I have 3 kids, they don't. Our income probably does look very different, and that mattered when I was building out my audience, or when I really wanted to target my audience. So it was way more than just how I was talking to them. But once I figured all those pieces out, their age, geography, all of that, I was able to recraft the brand. Also the language. I stopped saying, hey sis, in every email. It was, even something as simple as actually using their name, or you know what I mean, or just a better greeting. Also shorter emails. I realized that I dealt with a lot of working women who also have social lives. They don't spend a ton of time reading emails outside of work. They want to see what you got to do and how do I get it. And then also that was the other piece, access. I had to be super accessible. So when I first started, everything was 2-day shipping. Because I knew for a fact, if you went into a store, it was very likely you weren't walking out with a pair of shoes. Then the online thing really got super popular. You could go into a store, order shoes. At the store, they ship them to your home or whatever. So I was like, well, that's a little bit of competition now because people can physically go in and try a shoe on, even though they can't walk out with that one because it's a sample. I was like, I had to get a little more creative around those kind of things. So anyway, so that was really the birthing of what is now Fame.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So and you did all of that research and stuff before you started again.
No.
Right. That was all during the whole process.
I just started, and then I started to learn and pivot, and that's one of the things I'm really good at. I pivot very well.
Spring Yard talking about.
Yeah, pivoting is totally okay.
When you know how to pivot, it feels more secure in what you're doing.
Spring Yard, we keep bringing this up. What is Spring Yard? Spring Yard, explain that. I keep hearing it. I heard it from you.
It's
so I'm gonna let Kara talk about it because she
before we keep going, because it's gonna keep coming up.
It is because it's a pivotal part of my journey, and I know some folks in the audience went through Spring GR as well.
Get up Spring GR,
Shameless plug, and this is Spring GR doesn't even know I'm doing this, but Spring GR is actually a program in Grand Rapids, so it offers multiple things, but the particular component that we're talking about is called the SBA, which is a Small Business Accelerator, which is a 15-week program that Spring GR offers for startup and newer entrepreneurs. And I say we now because full circle, I was a student in Spring GR, and I am now a facilitator and a coach. So it's real nice when it comes full circle. Now they pay you, right?
Is it expensive?
It's not.
No, it's
Spring
not.
GR is really cheap. So I don't know what the pricing is this year, but Spring GR is less than $150. I know that.
I think I paid $125.
Yeah, it's really cheap.
Sound like a lot of help for $125.
It's way more value than you can for.
You get dinner. There's childcare. There's so many things. But Spring GR, so that's what Spring GR is. And there are other, even if you're not in Michigan, there are other small business accelerators, and incubators are another similar style of program for those of you not in the Grand Rapids area. But it's that same kind of concept.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. And other business
it's two parts to that. So there's a design studio component, which is how Care Monique was first birthed, and that's where I want to take all the things that I learned, because I learned so much in my first 2 to 3 years of business, even down to the fact that I had to start designing because of COVID, which is a whole nother thing that we can talk about. But I wanted to teach other entrepreneurs who wanted to start their fashion businesses, particularly in the shoe and handbag space, how to do that without making all the mistakes or spending all the money that I spent. So I created a design studio that offers one-on-one coaching. I used to have a women's group coaching program. I just stopped that last year. I did 2 cohorts of that, and each of those cohorts had 26 women in them. And then now I'm restructuring a little bit where I'm going to offer online classes, and then I'm creating something called Shoe and Sip, which is going to kind of be down in the future. Which is going to be down in the future.
My wife would love that.
Yeah, it's similar to a paint and sip kind of vibe, except I'm teaching people how to make footwear in some kind of capacity.
So you literally making a whole
literally
shoe.
making a shoe.
Why we sipping?
Yeah. Well, I tested it out. People gonna have to sip after, because my very first shoe was sip. Some of them shoes they couldn't walk in. There's not a smoke shoe. There's not one of those yet, but so that's gonna become, because shoemaking is one of the things that honestly saved me in a lot of things. Like we talked about how a lot of this came out of my journey of having depression and gaining all that weight, and then shoes. Who knew? Like I looked at my vision board. It's so funny. I looked at my vision board when we were moving some years ago. I had a vision board from 2015, and it had 2 things on it that I did. It said, "Just buy the shoes." I didn't even know at that time. Like I didn't start my shoe business until 2018. And then the other one was said, "Just do it." Like it said something like, "Just do it," or "Do it scared," something like that. And I was just like, whoa. Those are 2 things that like I did. I just did the shoes, and I did it scared, kind of thing. So definitely write the vision and make it plain, because it comes to pass.
You just started on both of them.
I just started.
Were you working a 9 to 5 prior to just starting?
Yeah, I was working 9 to 5 all the way up till 2021. So I had both my businesses. Care Monique really took off after I quit my job, but Faye Nicole was already the main kind of side hustle at the time while I was working. So yeah, I worked until June 30th, 2021. Well, I worked on record. I actually wasn't at work. But only because no. And I say that the only reason, and I say that because it is a part of my journey, the only reason I wasn't physically at work, my mom died. So I was literally back and forth at the hospital. My mom fell ill unexpectedly. And so I had put in, and God is so crazy in my mind. I was like, he just be doing stuff, I guess. Because I took the job, a brand new job, in December of I accepted the job December 2019 to start January 2020. A brand new job, my dream job. I became the director of a program at a university. And I took the job. I moved to a small town in Michigan, not too far away, to take this job. And I got there, and God was like, "Quit this job." And I said,
It's crazy. We hear that voice. We hear that voice clear.
I said, "You ain't about to make me
You don't want to do it. You hear that voice, but you don't want to do it.
I said, "Why you make me take this job if you wanted me to quit it?" So I bargained with God, bargained with him, and I said, "You know what?" March came around. I said, "Well, how about this?" I said, "Let me at least give these people 6 months." I said, because it felt unfair career-wise. I said, "Do I really want to commit career suicide, taking the job and quitting it the first month?" And then also such an important role, in my opinion, because I was the director of a program called TRIO Student Support Services. And I am an alum of a TRIO program. And TRIO, what this program does is it helps first-generation low-income and students with disabilities. And I said, I cannot flake. It's government funded, and they get penalties when things aren't in place, like not having a director, not allocating funds properly. So to me, it would be for me, it was moral, right? I was like, this program helped me graduate college. If I walk out of this role and they don't have a director for 6 months, that's a penalty, a financial penalty. If they get a financial penalty, that's less money for these students. And there were 144 students in the program, and I was like, that's a big number of students to be impacted by my decision. And there's politics around all of that or whatever. So I bargained with God anyway. March rolls around, I said, "God, I'm gonna quit in June." I said, I'm gonna put my notice in now though, so that they can prepare, so that there's not a vacancy in this spot because of the morality of what I was thinking about. I'm like, I don't want them to be penalized. So anyway, so I did all that, and God knew at the time I didn't. God knew that I was gonna have to quit that job anyway, because at the time I thought I was gonna have to take care of my mom. My mom fell, and they said she was gonna have to have 24-hour care. So anyway, she ended up in the hospital for all these months, and she ended up just not making it at all. So she died June 25th, the same week that I was already, like, my notice was in, and I was like, well, I can't go back up in there now. Like, it was like, but it was also the perfect time, because I was able to grieve my mother's death without the burden of going into somebody's job and dealing with their politics and all of that, and I was able to do the thing that me and my mom had talked about. And the crazy thing is, the day my mom died, that morning, I got an email, and I remember the day my mom went on life support, it wasn't the day she died, the day she went on life support, I remember getting an email, and the email was from a store in the Beverly Hills Mall in LA. And they had I had applied for this and had forgot about it. They had chose 6 Black-owned businesses to put their products in their store. And I said, yo, I never even been to LA. But I said, this is so dope. I said, they picked me? They picked me. So like, I was on such a sad day. Like, I'm literally sitting at my mom's bedside at the moment when I got in. I just had my computer open because I didn't know what else to do. I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just sitting there and I'm working, and that email comes through, and I was just like, yo, this is like so dope. So that was the start of my confidence in being okay with leaving my 9 to 5, because that was my last week of work, and I'm already, they're like, your stuff can go in our store August 1st. So I was like, dope. So I hit up my friends. We all bought they came with me. My friends came with me. We bought plane tickets. I shipped my shoes over there. We went to LA. We put my shoes in the store. They're no longer in there. I pulled them back out after about a year. But it was such a cool experience for that to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And at that time too, I also had owned the makeup line. Then too, I had got a call too, and my stuff went into a store in New York, my makeup line. So I was on both coasts. I was on 2 coasts at the same time. It felt so random at the time. Now I know.
Yeah,
It's
it was
just
already in
favor.
the plan.
It was already in the
That's
plan.
awesome.
So for that person who may not have that type of experience, that's want to go from 9 to 5 entrepreneur to full-time entrepreneur, like what would you say that person should start thinking about right now? What are some of the things that they should start getting in place right now?
Discipline is the first thing. That is where I failed when I first started. But really, and you'll hear business owners tell you all the time, automate, let your business run itself. That is so hard.
So hard.
It is so hard. And it is valuable. There's a lot of value in automating some parts of your business. But you don't want to automate your business so much that you no longer know what it does.
You don't want to
That you're not connected to your business or things like that. So I am a firm believer in automating some things. Like, of course, automate your CRMs, which are your emails, right? Automate some of those systems. Create policies and processes around your shipping or delivery options, those kind of things, so anybody can do that, right? You know, you can walk away and I could say, Tali, hey, you wanna make some money this weekend? I can hand Tali a sheet of paper, she can pack an order. Like, those kind of things, easy. But there are certain parts of your business, like personally, I use systems for my accounting and stuff, but I can guarantee you every week I'm still in there looking at it. I'm still in there touching stuff. Well, what did I spend this on? Making sure stuff is allocated correctly, those kind of things. Also, quality control. I have a product-based business. Now I design and create some of my styles, but I also still have a manufacturer. Best believe I open every one of them boxes, and we are looking to see what is their glue, because that is small things that sometimes you wouldn't think can ruin your reputation, but they can. A drip of glue being on the back of a heel that you just so happen to mix. Remind you, my folks are paying $100 for their shoes or whatever. By the way, y'all, my site is on sale right now. Everything is it's $50 or less. I'm doing a liquidation. So shopfadenicole.com. Not kidding, y'all. Like my boots and everything. There's a liquidation sale happening right now. So that's shameless plug, but I'll make sure that's shopfadenicole.com. Faye has an E on the end. ShopFayeNicole.com.
50%
So
off.
so y'all go get that liquidation sale. But anyway, so I would say get some things in place that can be automated and free up a little bit of your time, but get some discipline in place as well so that you can run your business. And then the second thing that's also very, very important is the goal is actually, in my opinion, the goal is not to quit your job. Because as a full-time entrepreneur, you're going to work more. The goal should be to move into a job that you love, to move into a space or a career that doesn't feel like a job. Because people want to quit their 9 to 5 and they think that it's going to be peaches and cream. I work more than I ever worked in my life.
But my question, I have a question, and it comes back to what you said, your morals. The reason you didn't want to stop was because of your morals. So there's a lot of people who have morals, or not even morals, they just have like faith. Not even faith, not even like, what word I'm trying to use? A lot of people are loyal to an employee. So how do you get past that part? Like, for instance, a person
An employer, or you mean?
like a lot of people are loyal to their employer.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Whether I can't leave because it'll go downhill if I leave.
I ain't never had that.
Or
Now, students, yeah.
it comes down to like your morals. You see your morals stopping you because you're worried about the other people.
Yeah.
How do you get past? How did you get past that? So if your mom didn't pass away, would you have went back to your 9 to 5?
No, because my
So
business was flourishing. But I would. So for me, it was leaving in a way that made sense.
Okay.
So my loyalty wasn't to the institution or anything. My loyalty was definitely to the work.
Okay.
So and I'm still loyal to that same kind of work. So I still help first year students and all of that. Like some of my clients that I took on when I first started Care Monique LLC Pro Bono were actually previous students who were exploring businesses or something like that. And I was just like, well, let's talk about that. I knew they were first gen, not only in college, nobody in their family had a business. So that was my way of pouring back into some of them in that sense. So I think for me, my loyalty is to my people. Because a lot of them were...
That's what a lot of people are.
Yeah.
To this community of people.
Yep. So I think part of getting past that is, in what ways can your business still impact that community or still create that community or whatever that is. And I'm still very much connected to the higher ed community. So that's another thing, like TRIO programs and other arenas at some of these institutions that I've made connections with. They bring me in to speak on stuff like this and, all of that. So but that was another reason I wanted to leave the right way too. I didn't want to just burn a bridge. Yeah, that kind of thing. And then also, it's a money thing in a lot of ways too. I'm not scared to say it. I very much enjoy money. I'm very much motivated by money, which is another reason I started a business. Right. That's why the only reason I went to work is because they paid me. Because I could do this other. I could still do that job for free, but y'all paid me, so I'm motivated to come in here and do this. But I think that's the other piece too. Is that's one of the things that I didn't do well enough. I didn't save enough money before I left. I was thriving when I left my job. I had shoes in LA. I had makeup in New York. I was hitting numbers I had never seen before, even in the midst of still kind of COVID. And I rode that wave, and then I didn't realize, you probably should have saved a little bit more money. Yeah, we should have saved some more money. Because I saved a little bit, what I thought was going to make me comfortable. But that money fly fast when you're still testing and experimenting in some stuff as well. And then also just the inflation happened. Like there were just things that I didn't prepare for. Of gas being $99. I was like, why did gas skyrocket? But the impact of such a global pandemic, those kind of things. I quit my job in 2021, even though my business saw its greatest year, 2020 to 2021. But the impact of a global pandemic started to happen right after that. And I'm still very blessed, still very grateful to be in the space and the place that I'm in. But I can truthfully say it felt like enough money at the time, and now I'm looking and I'm like, we almost didn't make it. in the end of 2021, completely stopped working with my manufacturer for 6 months because I could get 100 pairs of shoes shipped for $300-400 maybe, if that much. Thousands. Shipping only for the same 100 pairs. That's the impact. Logistics went crazy.
That's huge.
It went so crazy, and I was like, I only sell my shoes for X amount of dollars. If I'm paying $13 per pair just for shipping, because that's what it was breaking down to, y'all charging me upwards of $3,000-4,000 just to ship them or whatever. I'm tacking that on to the price of the shoe and all that, and I'm like, now y'all are charging me $70 for a pair of vegan leather, which is faux leather. That's just fake leather. We call it vegan leather, right? Because language matters in right. People will buy a vegan leather shoe, but a faux leather shoe, that sounds cheap. It's the same thing.
That's very good branding.
It's good branding, right? But so even that, just the concept around how much money my business was making, it looked very different the end of 2021 compared to what it was looking like when it was thriving in 2020. And then also I think that was another part of it. People were at home. People were shopping. People were like, I don't have anything else to do. And people were spending money. And then when it was like, y'all, we really can't go nowhere, people was like, well, I probably should stop spending money. And then my business was like, people have stopped spending money. So it's definitely been a up and down road. And even now I'm liquidating my site because I'm patenting a new design right now. So my business is moving in another direction, still with the same target audience, but the style and design, I'm actually creating a new technology for footwear, and I'm scared out of my mind, but I'm gonna do it.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
If you're not scared,
Is it worth it, right?
Yeah, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make sense.
You said discipline was somewhere where you went wrong. Where did a lack of discipline? Would you say it was a lack of discipline? How did you think that affected you negatively?
So I think it was a combination of things, and I want to be honest and transparent. In my experience, grief played a role. Remember, I quit my job the same week my mom died. That's a big thing, right? And I didn't even realize, bless you, I didn't realize at the time I was experiencing something called absent grief. I thought all grief was I thought it was just one kind of grief. There's actually like 16. But at the time I was experiencing what we call absent grief, and what that meant was, it wasn't that I didn't realize my mom died. I accepted her death quickly because I had to. And now I'm looking back like, yo, you could have not done that. Like, you could have been sad. You deserved that. Like, I did not spend a lot of time sad. And I was. Internally, I was deeply sad. Me and my mom were super close. So I think part of what felt like a lack of discipline at that time was grief. It was hard to get up in the morning, and I took that as, I wasn't accepting that as grief. I was saying, you are so unmotivated. You are being so lazy. You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because the one thing that really did hit me was that first Friday that a direct deposit did not roll in. I said, well, if you don't make no money, you don't get paid. You have to get up. And I mean, I am blessed enough to have a partner. My husband is amazing. And I know sometimes I probably frustrate him in just the fact that, like, I just be going for stuff. And he'd probably be like, if this lady run us dry. but I think that's also another thing for me, is that I'm not going at this alone, even though I am, it's my business, but I have a teammate and a partner. So I think a little bit of the same fear that some folks who might not have a partner or a support system, whether it be a partner or not, some kind of support system, that can look different. So for me, I think I was able to lean a little bit more into the fact that I have a 2-income household. So I also recognize the privilege in that statement, right? The privilege in that space that I hold. But for me, it was a combination of grief, and then also this combination of, I didn't set a good enough plan to be disciplined. In which, what I mean is, the same way I had a schedule for getting up from my 9 to 5, I should have did that same thing for myself. I don't have to work 5 days a week now. So for me, now I kind of have a little bit of a schedule. I take meetings between 10 and 4 on certain days, but like, depending on what I'm doing. So now I have a schedule set up to where I have a calendar for meetings. If you want to book a meeting with me, this is the calendar you get on. Then I have a set schedule for when I'm working on Fame Nicole, and I have a set schedule for when I'm working on other projects or other businesses. So like I mentioned earlier, right now I'm helping with some things for PR. I have to put that in, that has to have a place.
Do you set a time for yourself?
Oh yeah, I take naps, I watch TV.
Or what about your significant, you're married, so you're
Yeah.
husband?
Yeah, you know. I'm just kidding. No, yeah.
Our podcast before this, we were talking about.
That's a whole other podcast.
We actually had our lives on.
No, I'm joking. No, I could totally make more time for all the things, right? But and not to say that I don't make time for my husband. It's just that it is different. I do realize it is different when now my office is at home. His office is at home. We had to be super intentional about like our house is not a job. Our house is not a business because that is the reality. My husband works from home. I work from home. This is not a place of employment. But that's what it often feels like because during the day we're in our respective offices. Nice. And even like I even started doing little stuff like, you know, coming to check in, cooking bread, like, because you have those liberties to take care of yourself a little better when you work from home. So like cooking breakfast, like being intentional, just thinking about each other, I think throughout the day, because that is a very good question that you ask, like how do you make time for your significant other? How do you make time for all these things? You just have to do it. I've learned that. Like, I cannot pencil my husband in on the calendar like I do meetings. I tried that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop working at 8, and then I'm gonna spend time with my husband. And it's like that don't really work that way. Like it's just it don't. It could maybe for some people. For my house, that's not a healthy decision to like, babe, I'm gonna hang out with you from 8 to 10. Like it's not. We have a more organic kind of house of like, you know what? I don't want to do this right now. Let's hang out or whatever. But we watch TV. We take naps. We spend time. We have 2 dogs.
So you make time for yourself?
We do. Yeah, I make lots of time for myself. Sometimes too much. Sometimes too much.
Yeah, it's funny because we just had our wives on with us, and we was talking about some of that very stuff and making that time because our relationships is kind of like they're different in aspects of him and his wife is more together in their business, and then with me and my wife, it's more so my thing that I'm doing. So,
and that's funny because I was the entrepreneur for the longest, but my husband and I actually opened a business together last year. So we just opened a rental hall in October of 2022. And yeah, we still have it. Yeah. So it's called the All In Event Space. So our last name is Allen. So we call it the All In Event Space, but it's spelled Allen. Yeah. So it's cute. Yeah, you know, we do cute stuff. Yeah, it's the allineventspace.com. So the allineventspace.com. Yeah, so we're in Kentwood over on Eastern and 44th. But it was something that actually it really was my husband's idea. I had got the building for a warehouse, but he walked in and he was like, "We need to maximize on this." He was like, "We can rent out the front of it like on weekends or whatever." And I was like, "You right, we can." And so we created this rental hall, and I actually reached out to a couple of folks I know. Ariana was one of them. I reached out one for several reasons. One of the people that I know has a rental hall, and I wanted to let her know what I was doing so that it wasn't like stuff can get messy. And I reached out to her and I said, one, I value your opinion and your honesty in this space. Are we going to fall on our faces? But then also to let you know that this is something that we're going to do because this opportunity came up, and I had some great conversations with. We actually know 2 folks in the rental space area in Grand Rapids. They both talk to us about it and all that. So my husband is actually an entrepreneur now as well. He still works his 9 to 5, but we have the rental hall, and it's been an interesting and a fun journey.
Yeah, you start wanting to.
It is.
I don't know if he want to keep doing it. I think he do it because we doing it. It's like we in here now. But
y'all got to come on the other show.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say what time we at.
We got our last question. My last question is, what is something a person can do today to start doing either what you're doing or what they want to do?
So,
right now, what is something a person can do?
in the simplest form, you can get some free social media accounts and start creating everything is content. I know that sounds cliche, but everything is content. You can get some social media accounts for free and start creating some reels around you thinking about or talking about or creating your business. Yes, you are going to think people are going to steal your ideas, but they ain't going to work like you going to work to get it done. They can't take your idea the way you going to create your idea. They might have more money than you have right now, but they don't have the authenticity that you have. They don't have the power and the passion that you have. That's one of the easiest and freest steps. Get a social media account, start documenting and creating what it is you want to create. People love that. We so nosy. People love being in your business.
Let's put it out there.
Let people be in your business. Like, I am a firm believer in it. So that's what I would say if you want to go the easiest, well, maybe not easiest, but the cheapest / natural way to just get started. Yeah. The other thing is, I would say find some ways to get some type of capital, whether it be social capital or financial capital. They both matter, right? Social capital is super important. You can get tons of research done by talking to people. You can maybe get interested buyers. You can get investors or whatever. So social capital or financial capital. Start applying for some grants. Incorporate in some way so that you can qualify for grants. And when I say incorporate, simple as getting an LLC, a $50 LLC, if you can afford that. Yeah, that could be a starting point. Because I found a lot of startup entrepreneurs, that's the holdback. I'm like, why haven't you applied for any grants? Oh, I don't qualify. Why don't you qualify? Oh, I don't have an LLC. Why don't you have an LLC? I don't know how to get an LLC. Okay, well here's my computer. Let's do it. 5 minutes. I said, do you have $50? No. Can you get $50? Can we call 10 friends and get $5? Can we call 5 friends and get $10? Whatever. Can we do that right now? And they'd be like, yeah, actually, I can. All right, well, let's get your LLC right now. When I tell you, I have met several entrepreneurs, that was their barrier to getting free money.
The LLC.
Was an LLC, which was $50 that they could call somebody and actually get. And I know everybody can't do that, but the ones that I came in contact with, it didn't even cross their mind to just give, or they had $50 that they just was like, oh, it only costs $50. It was like, and I was like, and each year to renew it, it's only $25. I was like, it gets cheaper.
People think it's harder than it is.
They do think it's harder, and then they pay people to do stuff that's free. Don't you pay anybody for an EIN? Don't you pay anybody for an LLC? It's just things that you just need somebody to just sometimes do it with you, or just tell you, like, do this thing. Like, and that's what I'm about. I like telling people to do the thing.
Pretty much. Start today.
Start today.
All right, what time is it?
Start today, not tomorrow. It is time to go, but we got Here Is Why. What are we talking about? We got.
I created a grief journal. So this is part of my journey. So Monique LLC, I had a YouTube channel, and I started to just kind of talk about my grief a bit on my YouTube channel, and those videos were the videos that was like kind of going crazy a little bit. I was like, oh, people really out here sad. Like, I was like, it's not just me. Like, I was like, but you know, I'm always trying to help, but then I was like, I'm also a businesswoman. So what does this look like? And some of the things that I learned was a lot of people similar to me had no idea how to place their grief. Or for me, I didn't even know what kind of grief I was experiencing. I thought all grief was the same. It is not. There's 16 types of grief, but a lot of people only know about the 7 ways you grieve, or the 7 stages of grief. So anyway, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I did work with a therapist to do the psycho grief stuff that's in here. But it is a beautiful 90-something page journal that I created, the quotes and everything, and it's called Here Is Why I Grieve, and it's a journal for the broken but healing heart. And it's on pre-order right now, but I actually just got all my materials to finish making them, so they'll be on regular order. But yeah, it's just a grief journal for those that want to find a space and a place to put their feelings. And the reason it's Here Is Why I Grieve is God actually dropped this in my spirit, because I was like, God, that kind of doesn't make sense to say Here Is Why I Grieve. But he kind of told me just straight up, he was like, the pages of the journal are going to actually be the place where people's emotions will come to life. This is where people will be able to honestly say how they feel, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't feel safe enough to say how they feel. So this was that, and then this is my favorite part of the journal because that's my mama. That's my mama. So she's on the back of the journal right now. But yeah, that's what I created, and you can find this on caremonique.com right now. And yeah, you can buy it for yourself or someone else. And even if you haven't lost a person, you can grieve other things as well. This is also a very good place for that because I want people to also recognize grief is not just about people. We grieve the loss of jobs, we grieve the loss of pets, we grieve the loss of friendships, all kinds of things. So grief is not just kind of monolithic to
I like that.
So you want to tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, all those places at Cara Monique. Also Shop Faye Nicole is at Shop Faye Nicole. Those are my
Faye Nicole spelled it one more
it's
time.
Faye. And y'all, Faye was my mom's middle name. And then Nicole, Nicole, and that's my second middle name because my mom was clearly extra.
I got two middle names too.
Yeah, but I feel like only we have two middle names. Why do we do that? But yeah, so Faye Nicole is where you can find my shoes. They're all on sale right now.
50% off.
Yeah, and then caremonique.com is where you can find coaching and consulting, and then also some things around grief.
And start today and not tomorrow.
Start today, not tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.